Hello, this is Dr. Donna Burnett. In this lesson, we will discuss food preparation basics. Let's get started. At the end of this chapter, you should be able to discuss the various types of food preparation utensils, describe the difference between pots and pans, list some more common small equipment, describe some large equipment categories, list the various methods of cutting foods, explain measuring ingredients by weight versus volume, and the use of scales. You should be able to compare the different mixing techniques, provide definitions and examples of seasonings and flavorings, list the different moist heat preparation methods, describe the various dry heat preparation methods, explain the 4 heat transfer types: conduction, convection, radiation, and induction, and discuss the 3 ways of measuring heat. Some of you already have these skills, and this will be a review. Others of you may never have been in a kitchen. I have had students who have never cooked anything before. I hope that is not the case with your class, but it's possible. So we're going to start from the foundation of very basic food preparation skills. We'll talk about utensils, pots and pans, small equipment, large equipment, as we said in this part 1 of the equipment. And then in the next part, we'll do some of the preparation techniques. And then lastly, we'll talk about heat transfer. When you're purchasing knives, you want to look for good quality knives that have stainless steel or carbon steel blades. You want an even weight and balanced distribution so the knife doesn't tip forward. You don't want to fight with the knife. The shank, which is called the tang, is the part that goes up into the handle. It can either be a short shank and go part way, or it can be a long shank and go all the way to the end. The metal pieces that hold the knife together, they can either go all the way through in a good quality knife, or they could be there for decoration, and the knife might be glued together, which is why we do not put knives in the dishwasher. I've had a knife actually come apart because it was glued and I didn't realize it was glued. The handle of the knife could be wood, could be made of a polymer, or metal. You've probably seen all 3 at some point. We do want to take care of our knives. We keep them sharp. We don't put them in the dishwasher. We hand wash them and dry them and put them for storage wherever we keep them in a safe place. Here is a image that's got quite a few different types of knives. I won't read all of this to you, but it's in your book, figure 6-1. The most common knife you'll see in a kitchen would be a chef's knife. This is an all-purpose knife for cutting meats and vegetables, and it comes in different lengths. You can use the side of the blade also for crushing garlic cloves, things like that. The bottom of the image, you have a cleaver, which is heavy enough to go through bone. Cutting boards need to be made out of non-porous material. This was covered in your food safety video, where we talked about cross-contamination and sanitizing those cutting boards. What you see in this image is not really a cutting board, it's just for illustration purposes. But what I do want you to notice in the image is up in the left-hand top corner, you see a dough scraper, also called a bench scraper. And this is used, as the name implies, to scrape the dough from the baker's table. You also see metal measuring cups in the bottom right-hand side of the image, and those are graduated by quarter cup, half cup, third cup, all the way up to a cup. Scales are very useful in the kitchen, and in a moment we'll see a figure that shows some different types of scales. Here you see a liquid measuring cup, the Pyrex, the one that you can see that has a spout. That's one indication that it's a liquid measuring cup. You also will see, if it's got metric, it'll see milliliters. That's a clue. If it has ounces, that's not necessarily a clue, because dry measuring cups also come in ounces. But the difference here is it's glass and you can see through it. Sometimes they'll be plastic, but you always can see through it. It can be translucent, but you need to see where the liquid comes to because you have to put that on a flat surface, get down on eye level, and see where the meniscus hits. And that's a topic we'll talk about momentarily. Here are the scales I mentioned. In the top left, you see a receiving scale where this can weigh food that comes into the kitchen. And usually you'll see these in a food service establishment where you're buying food by the pound. You want to weigh it when it comes in. The hanging scale you see in a grocery store potentially, and it's in the produce section where you can weigh things that are priced by the pound. You have a baker's dough scale, a digital price computing scale, and then you see a portion scale, which this is mostly for home use or small kitchens where you want to get an idea of what a portion size should look like so you have uniform portion sizes. And then you have the scoops. The scoops are also graduated. They have numbers. So you have a number 8 scoop. A number 8 scoop is about a half a cup. And you see that pictured here. This is one way to get uniform serving sizes also. And it's important to use the corresponding size scoop to the recipe. So if your recipe says it yields 12 servings, 12 half cup servings, then you need to use something to measure the half cup or you won't have 12 servings. And so you see quite a few different size scoops. They're called dishers as well, but we call them scoops. Pots and pans can be distinguished by size, shape, and handles. Pots generally have 2 handles so that you can carry them from the sink where you're maybe getting water over to the stove or other places you need to carry it. And they're generally bigger so that it takes 2 hands to carry them. They can come in 2 quart, 4 quart, 6 quart, any number of sizes. Here is pictured a skillet, which would be a pan, and those are measured in inches across the diameter to see what size pan that is. Generally, they have 1 handle. Now, in this iron skillet, you see an extra lip there because it's heavy and it takes 2 hands really to move that around. They come in different types of materials. You see sometimes aluminum pans, which aren't necessarily the best. You see stainless steel pans. Best heat conductors would be non-stick cookware, Teflon, ceramic, and hard anodized pans. And also the cast iron pans are also very, very good for conducting heat, but they are reactive, especially to acid. So if you're cooking anything with an acidic ingredient like tomato sauce, it'll react unless it's coated in enamel, which sometimes you'll see these even in, you know, Walmart, places like that. You'll see enameled cast iron. It's pretty popular and it's non-reactive. And lastly, you have glass pans. These would be Pyrex dishes that you can put in the oven, maybe pie plates, casserole dishes, things that are treated to reach high temperatures without cracking. Let's look at some of the small food preparation equipment. I noted the figures that go with each of these pieces of equipment so you can look through your textbook at the images. A few will be here in the slides. So you have griddles, like a pancake griddle, and that heats the food. An anti-griddle, which I had to actually look up, is what they use to make the type of ice cream where they put it on the griddle, the anti-griddle, and it's freezing, and then they scoop it and roll it and freeze it on the spot. So that's called an anti-griddle. A tilting skillet, you'll learn more about that in the food service management class. You have broilers and grills, steamers. Again, that's in your textbook. Deep fryers, you see a picture here of a French fry batch that's in a deep fat fryer. You can see them for home use in smaller sizes that can go on the counter. An air fryer is very popular these days, and microwave ovens. Woks, you see pictured here, and you can have an electric wok or a metal wok that you use on the stove. A rice cooker, again, that can be electric or it can be on the stove. Waffle makers, or waffle irons, meat slicers, food choppers, mixers, blenders, food processors, coffee and tea makers. And again, the figures are in your textbook. There are also some large pieces of equipment that you need to know about. Stoves and ranges, you know about. Ovens, there's different types of ovens. You have a convection oven that has a fan that moves the air around in the oven and also reduces cooking time. Or revolving or carousel oven. A rotisserie oven where there's, or a spit, I think it's called, that goes through the oven and you put, say, a chicken in it and it rotates while it evenly cooks. An impingement oven has forced air coming out of jets. An infrared oven, a brick lined or hearth oven, and a pizza oven that might actually have wood burning in it. And lastly, we come to refrigerators, freezers, and dishwashers. Refrigerators and freezers are extremely important to keep the food ingredients in a safe temperature range before and after preparation. We always need to keep the temperature controlled for safety foods in the proper temperature range to inhibit bacterial growth. The dishwashers, you have seen these built into counters, but you may not have seen one that can sit on top of the counter. You might not have seen one that rolls around until you need to use it and you pull it up to the sink and use a hose to fill with water. And then there's the institutional food service dishwashers that are designed to reach very high temperatures, 180 degrees, to sanitize the dishes. Some home dishwashers have a sanitized setting. Usually those take a long time to go through those cycles, and people at home a lot of times don't want to wait that long, so they don't do that. It's always a good idea to sanitize your dishes if you can. That ends part 1 of basic food preparation. See you in part 2.